So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Living Well guest session. We are so thrilled this morning to introduce you to our inspirational speaker, Steve Robinson. And I have to say, Steve, it's such a pleasure to meet you, and a huge thanks to our Goldster community for setting this up, because Steve is Tracy's brother, and Tracy's a long-term member here on Goldster. So thank you, Tracy. I can see you're in the audience here as well. And Steve, without further ado, shall I just hand over to you and let you get started?
Why not? Why not? Have you reached that point in your life when you realize that anything is possible? Or is that just another cliche? It might be. It's been said many times before. But what I believe, truly believe, is that each and every one of you is capable of achieving far more than you think is possible for you. I do like that music. Now, during the next 30 minutes, I'd like to help you realize that anything is possible by sharing with you my journey of discovery. A journey that started for me in an area of Leeds, locally known as Buggy Park. And not because it was a beautiful greenfield park, as you can see, but it was a slum housing estate where all the houses were infested with bugs, cockroaches, woodlice, and a nasty little insect called a silverfish that created havoc on your respiratory system. Now, during the 1960s, there was a programme of slum clearances, and Buggy Park was razed to the ground, and the land was incinerated to eradicate the bug infestation. And we were moved out into the Scott Hall estate of Leeds. But in the 1960s, the Scott Hall estate was a rough council estate. Not today, but in the 1960s it was. This is me and my sister Tracy. This is one of those photographs that really embarrasses me, but I love it for that reason. But I wish I pulled my fly up and buttoned my shirt. Actually, I couldn't, because the zip in my trousers didn't work, and I had no buttons on my shirt. And every day my mum would cut out cardboard insoles for my shoes to stop my feet from falling through the holes in the bottom. We were super poor. In fact, you don't see poverty like that today, do you? But despite being super poor, we were happy children, and we were happy because we had mum. And to me and Tracy, our mum was a rock. But to Dad, she was something else. She was a punch bag. Now, Mum realised she had to end that cycle of violence. So she did the best thing she could do for me and Tracy, and she left Dad when I was 4. Mum realised if she didn't leave Dad, I would grow up expecting it was normal to beat my wife. And my sister would grow up expecting it was normal to be beaten by her husband. And domestic violence isn't normal and shouldn't be tolerated. So Mum did the best thing, and she left Dad when I was 4. But now Dad had gone, we were a happy little family unit. Just me, Tracy, and Mum. Happy, except for one thing. I hated school. And I hated school with a vengeance. And I hated school for good reason, because I was bullied throughout my school life. I was bullied at primary school because I was from a single parent family. And back in the 1960s, that meant something. I was bullied at middle school because I used to get free school meals when all the other boys and girls were paying for their meals. And that made me different from the other boys and girls, which made me stand out, which made me a target. But it got worse when I went to high school because I started with acne. This is one of the only photographs I have at that time, because after this, my acne got so bad, I just didn't want photographs taking. In actual fact, I'm not a bad looking kid really, am I? But my acne got really bad. In fact, I remember going to the doctor's surgery with my mum one day, and people got up and walked out complaining to my mum that she shouldn't have brought an infectious child into a public area. I wasn't infectious, but I did look it. Girls didn't see me at school. I was invisible to them. The only people that saw me were the bullies, and I was beaten up on a daily basis. School was hell. It was torture. It was so bad. I only attended 2 days out of 5. And that wasn't official, mind. And on one of my days off, I had to go on a friend's motorbike. And it was brilliant. I loved it. And my friend said, "You can buy this motorbike if you want, Steve. I want £10 for it." £10, I said. £10 was like £1,000,000 to me. I've got no money. I've got nothing of any value. Except I did have one thing. I had an Instamatic camera. Does anyone remember those? They were brilliant. They were like the predecessor to the digital camera. You'd take a photograph, you'd pull the film out of the back, you'd wave it around and you'd watch it develop in front of your eyes. They were fantastic. In actual fact, I was in a camera shop just 2 weeks ago and they're all the rage again, except now they're in baby pink and baby blues. We've gone full circle, like the circle of life, isn't it? To this day, I'm not sure where I got that camera from. I think my auntie gave me it, but I managed to sell that camera to my mate's sister for £5. I thought I'm halfway there getting that motorbike. I thought I'm having that motorbike. Nothing's going to stop me. I'll do whatever it takes. So I went out and I did gardening, and I hated gardening. And I went out and I washed people's cars, and I hated washing cars. In that respect, I was your typical teenager. I pretty much hated everything, but I pulled out all the stops and I got that £10 and I bought that motorbike. Isn't it amazing how we can pull out all the stops when we really have to? Sometimes in life, we have to do the things we don't want. We have to do the things we don't like to get the things we want. This is my motorbike. I was brilliant on that motorbike. I could go up and down the steepest of hills. I could get over any obstacle and I could pull the best wheelies. Finally, there was something I was good at and something I had to look forward to at the end of the day. It didn't matter that girls didn't see me at school because I had a motorbike. And for me, that was enough. And on one of my days out on my motorbike, I met this young kid who was called Michael Ty. He was 12 and I was 13. And he had a motorbike too. And he was really good on it. And he could keep up with me. And he could do the same sort of things that I could do. And together we'd go out and have these wonderful, wonderful adventures. I lived for those adventures. But there was another kid that wanted to join us on his motorbike too. Only thing is, he wasn't a kid. He was a 30-year-old man that wanted to join me, the 13-year-old, and my mate Michael, the 12-year-old. But this 30-year-old man couldn't do the things that we could do, and he couldn't keep up with us, and frankly, he was dangerous. So we avoided him like the plague until the 19th of April, 1982, when I was now an 18-year-old, because that was the day I couldn't avoid him anymore, because that was the day he thought he could do a daredevil type stunt on his motorbike, jump over the top of me and my motorbike from a blind hill without me even knowing he was there. But he couldn't make the jump. And instead, he landed on top of me. His foot peg ripped my arm off there and then. It landed 100 meters away from me. It landed at the feet of a young kid called Brownie. I think about that kid quite a lot. The motorbike then impacted my chest, collapsed and punctured both my lungs, ruptured my liver, ruptured my gallbladder, ruptured my spleen, fractured my pelvis, and broke my leg. In fact, you could say I was in a bad way. But it was worse than that. I died 3 times on the operating table. I remember opening my eyes and looking up, and there was an angel looking down on me. That angel was called Janet, by the way, and she was a staff nurse at Ward 16 at the Leeds General Infirmary, but she truly was an angel. She had beautiful long blonde hair, the most perfect complexion I'd ever seen, and piercing blue eyes that looked right into my soul, and she said in a soft and gentle voice, "Stephen, you've had an accident on your motorbike." She said, "You're in the Leeds General Infirmary. You're going to be okay, but you've lost your right arm." 5 minutes later, she walked past and she said, "Steve, you've had an accident on your motorbike. You're going to be fine. You're in hospital, but you've lost your right arm." 5 minutes later, and every 5 minutes, she walked past and she said, "Steve, you do know where you are, don't you? You do know you're in hospital, don't you? And you do know you've lost your right arm, don't you?" I thought, rubbish. Lost my right arm. What are they talking about? I could still feel it. I can still feel it now. I didn't know back then there was this thing called phantom limb syndrome, where those people that have lost a limb can still feel that missing limb. But the more I thought about that, the more I realized I knew a lot of people that were suffering from something very similar. Phantom barriers. Barriers that were stopping people doing the things that they wanted to do. Barriers that were stopping people achieving the things that they really wanted to achieve in life. Barriers that feel real, but just like my right arm, aren't really there. Now, a lot of us suffer from phantom barriers. Not everyone, but a lot of us do. The first step to conquering them is to recognize them. Now, Janet did everything for me, the most personal of care, and I'm a spotty, ugly, insecure little boy. And here was this beautiful young woman doing all my personal care, and I was humbled by that experience. Not only that, she was single. I thought, I'm in here. I wasn't, but I thought I was. I think I fell in love for the first time in my life on Ward 16 with an angel. Now, everybody on Ward 16 was bedbound. So if you wanted to use a toilet, you had to use a commode. There was no option. But one day I said to Janet, oh, please, Janet, will you take me to a proper toilet? So Janet said, okay, I will, she said, but when you've finished, give me a shout so I can come and clean you up. I was so badly injured, I couldn't do a thing for myself. Janet, I've finished. So Janet came to clean me up, and then she took me to the wash basin to wash my hands. Now, Janet had forgotten there was a mirror in the bathroom, and mirrors weren't allowed on Ward 16, and they weren't allowed for good reason, because everybody was mutilated and disfigured. But Janet had taken me to the staff toilets, and she'd forgotten there was a mirror in the bathroom. And that's when I saw it for the first time. I couldn't believe my eyes. All my spots had gone. All my spots had gone. I was absolutely overjoyed, the happiest I'd ever been. I looked in the mirror. I thought, oh, yeah, my right arm has gone. They were telling me the truth. I thought, never mind, my spots had gone. Isn't it amazing how we can see the good in what at first might seem like a bad situation? We all have choices in life. We can all choose to see the good or bad in anything. You too have the same capacity I have. I'm no different from you, except I've got one arm and I'm super good looking. That always gets a laugh. I looked in that mirror. I was the happiest I'd ever been. This wave of euphoria swept over me, and I had an epiphany. And I realised I wasn't a spotty little boy anymore. Thanks to all the medication they'd given me in hospital, it had cleared up my acne. But I also realised I wasn't a shy little boy anymore. Thanks to all the personal care I got from Janet and the female staff, I desensitised. But I also realised I wasn't a weak little boy, because I'd overcome major trauma and I'd survived. I walked in that bathroom, a shy, spotty, insecure little boy, and I walked out a strong, proud young man, ready to face the world. But I also realised at that moment in time that all my job opportunity had gone. And I thought to myself, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Remember those choices we have? I realised it was a great thing, because no longer would I be constrained by a 9-to-5 job. No longer would somebody tell me what to do, but I would go out there. I would enjoy myself. Hopefully, I'd earn some money along the way and I would become unstoppable. I was a one-handed motor mechanic. I was very good. I was a bit slow, but I was very good. Oh, by the way, this is another one of those photographs that really embarrasses me. Check out those jogging pants and check out that mustache. I like to think that I was the height of fashion. I like to think that. I don't think anybody else thought it. Then I was a breakdancer and I was really good, and I got paid for doing breakdance displays in and around the Yorkshire region. My breakdance group was called Chain Reaction. Have you heard of us? What? No one. Well, you know, I'm convinced that one of these days somebody's going to say, I've heard of you. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm convinced it will happen one day. Oh, by the way, I've just noticed something about this photograph. Have you spotted it? I'm wearing the same jogging pants. Now, I'm not sure if it's true what they say about Yorkshiremen being tight, but I did have those jogging pants for 15 years. Well, I like to get my money's worth. Then I got involved with vintage jukeboxes and vintage one-arm bandits. Hang on, I think there might be a pun there. I've bought and sold and restored vintage jukeboxes and vintage one-arm bandits around the world. I've met some incredible people, millionaires, billionaires, famous people. But I got a little bit worried because my education really had suffered at school. I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? I was worried I was going to become a deadhead or a no-hoper with no job prospects. And I thought, I've got to do something, but what can I do? I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go to night school. Well, it was night time. I studied everything. Mathematics, electronics, computer programming, metalwork, woodwork, furniture restoration, cabinet making, French polishing, Spanish language, you name it. I studied it until eventually I'd exhausted all the night school courses. I thought, oh no, what will I do now? I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go to university. But you need qualifications for university, don't you? And I've got none. No GCSEs, no CSEs, no O levels, no A levels, no AS levels, nothing. But I've got a first class honours degree in computer science from Leeds Metropolitan University, the first in my family to ever attend university. I didn't even start until the age of 35, and I didn't graduate until the age of 40. You're never, ever too old to learn. Or the phrase I prefer is it's never too late to educate. Now, for my final year project, I had to create a piece of software. And I thought, well, what do I know about? And I realized I knew a lot about jukeboxes. So I created a piece of software for a digital touchscreen MP3 playing jukebox. But I went one step further. Because I knew about electronics, I created the hardware to software interfacing. Because I knew about metalwork, woodwork, furniture restoration, cabinet making, I created a cabinet. And I created a complete jukebox, and I took that jukebox into university. In my jukebox. After university, I went on to further develop my system and launched my company, Robinson's Jukeboxes Limited. During the first 8 months of trading, I sold 400 jukeboxes. Get in there. I created £1 million product single-handed. Okay, I'm going to give you that one. That definitely is a pun. I had so much money coming in, I didn't know what to do with it. What do you do when you've never had money and suddenly it's thrust upon you? We spend it, don't you? But what do you spend it on? In actual fact, I was doing this talk just 2 weeks ago and somebody shouted from the audience, buy some jogging pants. I should have done. I might have been a jogging pant millionaire, but I didn't do that. What I did is I bought my next door neighbour's house, but I didn't want to live there. So I rented it out and I got £600 a week for it. And I thought, wow, this is great, isn't it? I thought, I'll have some of that. That was a lot of money, but it was a big house. I thought I'll buy another house. So I bought another house and then another house and another. I've lost count now. How many is that? Is that 2 or 3, 4? I now own 13 houses. 13 might be an unlucky number. It's not unlucky for me. But I wasn't going to stop there. I wanted to do other things. I wanted to deal with some of my irrational fears. Now, a lot of us have irrational fears. Not everybody, but a lot of us do. A lot of people are afraid of spiders. A lot of people are afraid of snakes. But my fear was that of horses, because I was attacked by one as a young boy. Had it not been for my dog, she was a big Alsatian dog, I might not be here today because she fought the horse off. But after that, I was always afraid of horses, but I didn't want to be afraid. And I thought, well, what will I do to overcome my fear of horses? Don't get me wrong, I could just live with the fear, but I didn't want to. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll take horse riding lessons. Doesn't everybody do that? In 2014, I came 5th in the national dressage qualifiers. Me? 5th out of 5. No, out of 350. In actual fact, last year I came 3rd. I hate horses. In actual fact, that's what I used to say. I absolutely love them. If you've never tried horse riding, try it just once. I can't believe I turned a fear into a passion. But I had another fear, a really big fear. My fear of flying. I was a guy that needed hypnotherapy to fly to Spain on holiday. And I was a guy that prayed all the way there. Please don't let the aircraft crash, God. Please, 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 please save me. Don't let there be an accident. I was petrified. The whole idea of flying all the way back from Spain and to pray all the way back, just put me off. So I didn't want to be afraid of flying. But I thought, well, what could I do? And one day I was surfing the internet and I saw this article, of all places, it was on Facebook, and it said, flying scholarship for disabled people. I thought, wow. I thought, I'll bet that could help with my fear of flying. Plus, it's a scholarship, so it's free. Maybe it might be true what they say about Yorkshiremen being tight. I thought, I'm going to apply for that. What have I got to lose? If I'm not in it, I'll never win it. Does anybody recognise the exceptionally good-looking man in the middle? Yep, that's me. What about the chap on the left? Nobody ever gets in, by the way. That's Prince Faisal of Jordan. The chap on the right, nobody ever gets him either. That is Sir Stephen Dalton, Chief Air Marshal of the RAF, presenting me with a flying scholarship so I can learn to fly a light aircraft. I thought this is going to help me with my fear of flying. But so I could take flight training, I needed the NHS to make me a prosthetic arm. It took the NHS 12 months to make that prosthetic arm, which delayed the start of my flight training. But finally, the first day of flight training arrived, and I went down to Kemble Airfield to meet my flying instructor, John Griffin. It was at his local gym, pulling a few weights. Well, it was an heavy aircraft. John said to me in this broad Yorkshire accent, even though he's not from Yorkshire, he said, now then, Steve, he said, I hear you've got a prosthetic arm. He said, how good are you with it? And how long have you been using it? I said, what, this prosthetic arm? I said, well, I've never used it. It's been made specifically to learn to fly this aircraft. John says, yeah, but you've used a prosthetic arm before, haven't you? I said, no, never. Oh, says John, in that case, let's go for a flight and see what happens. I didn't think that was a good idea, but teacher knows best. So there we were at 3,500 feet with longer hair. And John said to me, I'm going to give you some instructions, Steve. And so I know you've understood them. I want you to repeat them back to me and then carry them out. I said, right, okay. He said, right, I want you to let go with your left arm. He said, well, you first of all, he said, you have control. I said, oh, okay, I've got control. Then he said, let go with your left arm and fly this aircraft with your prosthetic arm only. So I said, letting go with my left arm, flying with my prosthetic arm only. John said, right then, I want you to bank left 15 degrees. So bank left 15 degrees. Now, I know to you, this is your left, but to me, it's my right. I just want you to know, I do know the difference between left and right, which is super important when you're flying an aircraft. John said, level up, Steve. So I said, level up. He said, right, bank right 15 degrees. I said, bank right 15 degrees. He said, level up. I said, level up. He said, nose down into a dive. I said, nose down into a dive. He said, level up. I said, level up. He said, nose up into a climb. I said, nose up into a climb. I said, John. I said, you have control. John said to me, no, Steve. You've got to learn to fly this aircraft by yourself with one arm. So I said with a little more urgency, as we went into a spiral dive and we dropped through a cloud, I said, no, John, you have control. My bloody arm's fallen off. It was on the floor. John said, sort yourself out, Steve. So I picked my prosthetic arm up off the floor, strapped myself back in, and I said, right, I'm sorted, John. John said, let's try that again. We tried it 5 times. On every occasion, my prosthetic arm fell off. But if at first you don't succeed, try again. Now, John said something to me I'll never forget. He said, Steve, he said, don't worry if everything goes wrong. He said, there's 3,500 feet below us. He said, there's loads of time to correct. He said, the most useless bit of sky is that bit above you. And the most useless bit of runway is that bit behind you. And that made a lot of sense to me. But the more I thought about that, the more I realised what a great metaphor for life that was. Because it doesn't matter what's behind you and in your past. It only matters what's in front of you and in your future. Your future starts today. Now it was obvious what we needed was a super duper technical whiz bang solution to stop my prosthetic arm from falling off. And we found one. Yes, it was a technical bungee cord. What we had to do with that was hook one side onto my prosthetic arm, pull it really tight, wrap it a couple of times around the chair, and then hook it onto a secure mounting point under the seat. But I was like Luke Skywalker. The Force was with me. Only thing is, it wasn't Jedi Force. It was elasticated bungee cord force, and I could hardly move out of my chair. And John said, quick, quick, quick. He said, let's go bungee cord flying. So there we were, over RAF Kemble at 1,000 feet. This was absolutely brilliant. It felt like the first day of the rest of my life. It was just amazing. It was just me and my friend, John, flying around, and I was totally free. But we realized that my prosthetic arm wouldn't do what it said it would do on the tin. So with 8 hours remaining of my flying scholarship, I returned back to Leeds to wait for the NHS to make Mark II prosthetic arm. It took the NHS 12 months to make that prosthetic arm. But when it was finished, it didn't work. I thought, oh no. I thought, what am I going to do? I thought, shall I give in? No, I'm never, ever going to give in. If it takes me a lifetime to do something, so be it. But I thought, what can I do? Because sometimes when things get hard, you just need to try that little bit more, put a little bit more effort in. We've always got more effort, and we have to think outside the box. And I thought, well, what can I do? I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll make my own prosthetic arm. Doesn't everybody do that? When the press found out about it, took this photograph, I was in the national media. The headline said, disabled guy takes flight training with DIY prosthetic. The other heading that I really liked said, robo-pilot. Or was it robo-pilot? I am dyslexic. Does robo have one B or two Bs? I honestly don't know. 2 weeks after this photograph was taken, I did my first solo flight. That was strange. I've been doing these things called circuits and touch and goes where you fly around in the airfield, above the airfield, and then you come in for a landing and you land momentarily, you push on full power and you take off again. You know, when we've flown into an airport, an international airport, and you've been on holiday and you think you're going to land, and all of a sudden they push on full power and the engine roars and they take off and fly around again. That's just called a go around. These are all standard procedures. So we're practicing those. We're practicing landing, taking off, and circuits. And on my 5th landing, my instructor said to me, stop the aircraft, Steve. I said, why? What's up? He said, no, he said, stop the aircraft. I'm getting out. I said, what do you mean you're getting out? He said, well, I want you to do what you've just done 5 times before. I said, well, weren't you helping me? Because, of course, when your comfort blanket's at the side of you, you think they're helping you. He said, no, you did it all by yourself. And he got out of the aircraft and he waved me goodbye. And I was sat on the runway all by myself. I'm thinking, oh, this is weird. It was a really strange experience. It was an out-of-body experience. The emotions were so intense. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't panicking. I wasn't anything. I was just numb. And I watched myself from above. And I said to myself, anything's possible, Steve. And the second time I said it a bit louder. I shouted, anything's possible, Steve. And the third time I shouted at myself and I said, anything's possible, Steve. Get on with it. And I pushed on full power. And I watched all the little dials go up into a green area, which means everything's okay. And then I watched my airspeed indicator, which is a little bit like your speedometer in a car. And it got up to 60 miles an hour. Well, 60 knots, which is about 70 miles an hour, really. And I pulled back on the stick and the aircraft took off. And I'm flying and I'm thinking, I'm doing it all by myself. And as I'm climbing out, I heard this voice on the radio and it said, attention, all pilots. First time student pilot is in the circuit. No touch and goes, no landings until he's landing, no go arounds, no nothing. Keep clear, stay away from him. I thought, oh no. I thought, that's me. And I realized at that point, when I'm coming in for my first landing, that I needed to do a good job of it. Because if I didn't land on the first attempt, I'd have to go around and have another go. And it has been known for student pilots to be stuck in the circuit for over an hour. And they need talking down by their instructor. But I also realised while ever I'm trying to land, those other pilots can't. So if they need the toilet or they're running out of the fuel, you know, they're in trouble. So I'm coming in for my first landing. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm a bit too high and it's a bit fast. I thought I'll do a standard procedure, a go around, and I'll make another approach. But I said to myself, no, don't do that just yet, Steve. Get a bit closer, just see how you feel. So I got a bit closer. I thought, oh, I'm still too fast and I'm still too high. I'll do a go around. And I talked myself out of it again until eventually I was 5 feet above the runway. And I thought, well, my altitude's okay. And then I looked at my airspeed and I thought, well, my airspeed's okay. I thought, I'll give it a go, just see what happens. So I pulled off all the power with my prosthetic arm and pulled back gently on the stick for a first time perfect landing. To rapturous applause over the radio. I guess my flying instructor never sent out a guy with one arm to do a solo flight before. But it was my first time too. 2 weeks after that, I did this thing which is called a cross-country qualifying flight, where I had to fly from Sherburn in Helmet, which is a little airfield near the Leeds area, and I had to fly from there all the way up to Durham Tees International Airport. I had to land, get my logbook stamped as proof that I'd landed there, and have a cup of tea because I'm a Yorkshireman. And then I had to fly all the way from Durham Tees International Airport all the way down to Humberside International Airport, land again, get my logbook stamped again as evidence, have another cup of tea because I'm still a Yorkshireman. And then I had to fly all the way back to Sherburn in Helmet Airfield with the evidence that I'd landed at these two away airfields and before I needed a toilet, because of course there's no toilets on small aircraft. And I was hoping that there'd be no student pilots in the circuit when I got there. 2 weeks after that, I did my skills test. A skills test is a little bit like your driving test, but it's in the sky. I'm super warm. Do you mind if I take off my jacket? Sorry, excuse me a minute. Yeah. Did you know that was coming? Did you know that was coming? I'm not warm. Yes, I am a fully qualified private pilot. This is the aircraft I fly. It's called a Robin 2160. It's a two-seater aerobatics aircraft. I don't do aerobatics. Not yet. In actual fact, remind me to tell you something before I play out in a quick video. Then all the awards came in. I was awarded the Douglas Bader Memorial Trophy for my outstanding contribution to disabled pilots. If you don't know who Douglas Bader is, he was a Second World War Spitfire ace and he had no legs. I'm super proud of that. And why have I got a stupid expression on my face? Because I was fighting back tears. I really didn't expect that. The chap on the left, you recognise this time, don't you? That's Prince Faisal of Jordan. The chap on the right, everybody says, is it Steve Martin, the American comedian? No, it isn't, but it's a dead ringer for him. He's a chap called Sir Stephen Dalton, presenting me with this award. I'm super proud of that. As I am of this one, Yorkshire Inspirational Individual of the Year, awarded to me by the people of Yorkshire. But the award I'm most proud of is this one. This is the British Empire Medal, awarded to me by Her Majesty the Queen, the late Queen Elizabeth II, bless her. The Queen of England knew my name. Well, I knew hers. Then all the TV appearances happened. I was on the one show. Did anybody see me? What? No one. They told me 4 million people were watching. You know, the most amount of people that ever put their hands in the air to say they'd seen me was one person. Do you think maybe they were exaggerating about the 4 million? Keep that number in mind, by the way, 4 million. Then I was on Home and Away. Well, it wasn't Home and Away. What they call that? It was called A Place in the Sun, Home and Away. 3 million were watching that. Well, so they said. Did you see me on this one? 10 years younger in 10 days. Another 4 million. How many is that? It's a lot of millions, a lot of millions. Then I was on the Davina McCall show. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Did anybody see me on this one? This one was called Richard Hammond's Crazy Contraptions. We were Team Aviators. We came second. 4 million were watching that as well. How about this one? Fool me once, did you see me? They reckon 5 million watched that. It was a blockbuster. Then I was invited onto the TEDx stage, and I think my last count was 50,000 people had watched that. That's a lot of people. I'm only mentioning these numbers for something I'm going to mention a little bit later on. I'm just leaving that one to sink in. Yes, I am a published author, a dyslexic published author. That title Took a lot of thinking about, but it shouldn't have done today because there is no harm in trying. And why did I mention all those millions of people that know my name? Because I wish they'd buy a book. If I can do all these things with one arm, just imagine what you can do with two. I want to leave you with these few thoughts before I play out with a quick video. Opportunities are everywhere. What will happen if you don't take them? Nothing. So why not take them and enjoy the journey and see where you end up? How did I get that flying scholarship? I asked. I know it might be a cliche, but if you don't ask, you don't get, because they don't know you want it in the first place. How did I overcome my fears? By using a proven psychotherapy methodology known as exposure therapy, where if you're afraid of doing something, do it just a little bit one day and a bit the next and a little bit the next. And before you know, you won't be afraid anymore. I've overcome all my fears using that methodology. Now, remember I told you that I didn't do aerobatics? Well, that sort of changed. Hence the reference to Davina McCall on my book and why I was on the Davina McCall show. I was approached by Davina McCall and her show. It was called This Time Next Year. And she said, Steve, will you do a pledge on our TV program? I said, yeah, of course I will, yeah. What do you want me to do? Ride round the field and jump over some jumps on my horse? She said, no. I said, do you want me to land at 5 airports in 5 hours in my little aircraft? She said, no. We want you to do aerobatics. I said, no way. I said, no. I said, no, draw the line, aerobatics. I'm not doing them. I said, aerobatics scares me. We call them scaredabatics. I said, no, I don't want to do that. She said, aren't you a motivational speaker, speaking around the world and telling people how anything is possible? I said, yeah. She said, don't you also talk about how you can overcome any fear by using a proven psychotherapy methodology known as exposure therapy? By which point I realized I'd backed myself into a corner and I had to say, yes, okay, I'll do it. But I didn't want to, but check out my flying instructor because he looked scared to death. This is called a stall turn, where you fly up and then come straight down. A roll to the left. And then a roll to the right. This next maneuver, he knows I don't want to do. It's called a roll off the top, but watch him laugh at me. I'll point it out. When he gets to the bit I don't want to do, he'll laugh. Watch him. There you go, look. He knows I don't want to do this. That last maneuver is just called, it's called a roll, it's called a spiral dive. It's really, really exciting. I can't believe that I turned fears into passions. I absolutely love that. Love it. I'm Stephen Robinson, motivational speaker, one-arm pilot, dyslexic author of No Harm in Trying. Anything is possible for you too, if you choose to become unstoppable. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Stephen, that's just incredible. Thank you so much. As would you mind just stopping the share
Yeah,
so we
there we
can
go. There
bring
we go.
bring everyone on? Let me just bring everyone on, um, and Lee and Tim. Emma has just said it so beautifully in the chat. Let me just Tim, I can't, for some reason I can't spotlight you. I'm not sure. Emma has just said something so beautiful. I'm left speechless by such a unique human being, so inspirational. Thank you. And it really,
Oh, thank you.
I mean, for me, one of the biggest things is the fear, and you did it anyway, because it's very easy to hear about how successful people are, and you just for part of it, you just think, oh, that must have come easily to them. But I love how you've been able to conquer all these like phantom barriers and recognize them. Gosh, it's just so extraordinary. What do you think, Lee?
It was an epic adventure, wasn't it? I mean, it really was the hero's journey of very much brushing up against different adversities and moving with them. And I was just curious, did you feel fearful when you were overcoming some of these challenges? Did you acknowledge that you were fearful?
I was terrified at times. I was sat on the precipice of total out of control with fear. I've done this a few times, and I've been. You feel like you're on a knife edge. You can drop one way, which is total panic, and you've totally lost control, or you can drop the other way, which is you totally control it, and you never really just right on the knife edge of panic and control. And so long as you can control that panic, then you're okay. It's when you lose control of your panic that you're in trouble. So you have to control your panic all the time. But that's what I'm doing all the time. I didn't want to fly upside down. I thought, oh, no way. But in actual fact, I really enjoyed it.
So do you do things that help you lean towards being in control of those sort of overwhelming feelings so you don't drop into panic? Are there things that you do?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is you've got to remain in control of your panic. As soon as if you let your panic run out of control, you've totally lost it. You've got to control your panic, and it's okay to be panicking, so long as you acknowledge that you're panicking and you control it. And that you have to control your panic, because when you lose control, that's a very dangerous situation to be in.
Do you say things to yourself, Steve, or do you breathe, or do you do anything practically when you're in that moment?
I'm just in my headspace at that particular moment. I'll tell you when I really noticed this was prior to me doing all of this. I did scuba diving, and the first time I went scuba diving, and you've got to take a breath underwater. I took a deep breath before I went underwater, and I held my breath, and I thought, I daren't breathe in. Everything tells you never breathe in when you're underwater, doesn't it? And I was definitely on the knife edge of panic, thinking, do I panic? Do I breathe in? Do I not? And I thought to myself at that particular point that these things are safe. Everybody's doing this day in, day out, and you give yourself a little bit of logic. Everybody's doing it. If they can do it, why can't I do it? And at that point, I took a breath. Yeah. And I thought, oh, I'm okay. Yeah. But I was definitely on the knife edge of panic with that one as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where that sort of you saying to yourself, other people have done this, so why not me?
Yeah. I think that if people have done it before, then why can't you do it? If people have made it before, why can't you make it?
Yes.
I don't mean in life. I mean in machinery. I like making things like the whole idea with the prosthetic arm. If other people make prosthetic arms, prosthetists do that on a day-to-day basis, then why can't I make one?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I loved all the courses you did at night school as well, just like you devoured all the courses until you went to university.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that, really.
I mean, it's just fabulous because we're full of Goldsters here who have a ferocious appetite for learning. Hence, they show up here every day to hear people like you and other speakers we've had, and to learn from people like Claudia and Tim. And really quite an adventurous story. And what I personally came away with was your appetite for adventure and to keep looking for things that you could explore. And I think it's easy to sort of get into routine and not explore anymore, but you seem to have a real appetite for exploring and just, carrying on and devouring life, which is
I am
wonderful.
like that. I do like adventure, and I'll put myself in every situation. I realize that if you turn opportunities down, they may never come again. So if somebody says to me, "Would you like to do this?" I'll say, "Oh yeah, okay." So just yesterday, I was in Edinburgh and I was filming for a TV program because they contacted me about a week ago to say, would I come and do their TV program? So I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I drove up the day before yesterday and drove back yesterday late at night. And I thought, well, why not? If I don't put myself out there, how will I know what could come of it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. There's a film called Yes Man, where Jim Carrey just says yes to everything that's sent his way. And it's about what happens when you just say yes and figure it out. It's like Richard Branson says that, doesn't he? Just say yes and figure out how you're going to do it.
I'll watch that. I've not heard of that one, but I'm going to try watching that. But that's exactly what you've got to do. Just say yes to everything
Yeah.
and try everything.
Yes.
Oh,
Someone's just saying here, what's exposure therapy? So it's when you expose yourself bit by bit to what your fear is, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was a friend of mine that introduced me to that, to the whole concept, and I didn't believe him, but it definitely works. So, for example, if you're afraid of spiders, I'm not saying go and jump in a bed of spiders, but you might get a bit closer, pick one up on a piece of tissue and put it somewhere safe. But the more you do that, then that has become really easy now because you do it on a day-to-day basis. If you don't like cats, and you meet a cat, then just don't run away from it. Just
Yeah.
give it a bit of distance and it's all that type of thing. You just got to expose yourself to it. But that's like anything. It's the same as public speaking. It's the same as anything. Whatever you don't do it, you'll always be scared of it and always be nervous of it. As soon as you get into it and you start doing those things, then your fear goes.
It's almost like retraining your nervous system in those environments that would normally you'd find activating and be fearful of, retraining it to know that it's okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting.
Steve, do you ever think about the trajectory of your life if that day in 1982 hadn't happened?
Often, because I get asked that question quite a lot as well. And people say, what do you think you would have been doing? The honest answer is I'm not sure what I would have been doing. I probably would have been just working as a motor mechanic because I trained as a motor mechanic. And then maybe I might have had a garage. Maybe I wouldn't have had the appetite to do things that I do now. So I do actually thank the whole situation because it changed me as a person and pushed me into different areas that I would have never gone down, just different routes. I never would have thought of doing half the things I've done. I worked as a DJ for 15 years. Well, I would have never been a DJ. I just loved it. I was a singer. I was a karaoke compere. I'd be the turn most of the night. If nobody'd sing, I'd just sing all night. So I've done absolutely everything. But that was because I didn't know really what a one-armed man could do either. So to find out what a one-armed man can do, you have to try everything. But then you find that you enjoy everything and you become better at things. So yeah, but I do definitely think life it would have certainly been different with two arms, but I certainly wouldn't change anything.
No. That's wonderful. Carolina's saying, I hope tonight in my dreams I'll be flying an aeroplane.
Well, I fly a lot in my dreams, but I'm going to tell you how I fly. I fly by flapping my arms. And I've never had a dream with one arm. Never. It's
Interesting.
strange, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the phantom limb syndrome, I said to a friend of mine not so long since, I said, oh, it's because my nerve endings are all there that supply my right arm. He said, no, it's not that. And my friend's a doctor. And I said, oh, what is it? And he said, it's because your soul is still intact. And I really liked that. I thought, how nice is that?
Mm.
I really liked it. Maybe the science is your nerve endings, but I liked his response much more.
Definitely.
Stephen, are you religious? Do you have a faith?
I was religious. I became more spiritual after the accident. I was never brought up in religion, but I was religious. I used to pray every night without fail. And the strange thing is that after my accident, I didn't feel the necessity to pray anymore. But I had a different belief, and I had an awareness of different things. And maybe it was a near-death experience, but I came out of that experience just feeling more spiritual rather than religious.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say I'm a religious person, but I do believe there's something more than us.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, totally. Emma just saying, I feel blessed to have listened to Steve and will never forget this Yorkshireman. Emma, did you have your hand up?
I think Claudia just asked the question I wanted to ask, because I was going to say, do you think that you'd ever have achieved what you achieved if your arm had not been taken off? But somehow Claudia did ask you the same question, because it looks like sometimes in life you need something drastic to happen to make you realize that you can cross that river.
I think adversity.
Yes,
adversity definitely pushes you forwards to achieve and to do more things, because you have to try harder.
Yes.
You know, and so everything becomes a bit of a challenge. And when you realize that little things are a challenge, and big things are also just a sequence of small challenges. So it doesn't become as daunting when you're faced by something that you think is going to be difficult. After losing right arm, everything was difficult. Even tying my shoelaces were difficult, which people don't face that problem through through day-to-day life. But then doing something really big like building a jukebox and creating a £1 million product was just a sequence of problems that needed solving, just the same as tying my shoelaces. It was just tying multiple shoelaces, that's all.
And thank you, because your story just makes people wonder, if you grew up in a disadvantaged background, and it just spurs you on to do something to improve yourself. There's a lot of motivation in what you have said, and certainly many people would take that forward and try to improve their lives in a better way, because normally we feel that when you grow up having everything, then the chances of success in life are there for you. But no, it looks like when you grow up with little, the chances of you succeeding in life are even as good as that one who grew up with everything. So there's no comparison in life. Just do the best you can. Thank you for inspiring me so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
It's lovely. Tim, did you want to add anything or ask anything?
Yeah, I just like you'd done so much. You'd almost like you learned how your brain works to such a degree, but then even later on down the line, when Davina McCall had to remind you, like, well, hang on, are you not a motivational speaker? Are you not meant to be challenging this fear thing? So it kind of just shows that doesn't matter what age you are, there's a constant. You've got to keep that on your toes. You've got to keep on top of how you're feeling and how your mind works, because then even you forgot your approach, and even if it was just for a split second.
I really didn't want to do the aerobatics. Now, stupidly, when they said to me, what sort of challenges could I do? I mentioned the horses, I mentioned landing at airports, and stupidly, I said aerobatics. And as soon as I'd said that, I thought, why did I mention that? I really didn't want to do it. But maybe there was something subconscious in my mind that did want to do it, because I wanted to overcome that fear. I was really terrified. I was terrified of flying, let alone aerobatics. In actual fact, when we did our first bit of training and we have to train to do a loop, the first thing we do is we go into a shallow dive and then pull up just so you can experience the G-force. And I said to the instructor, I said, how much G-force do we need to pull to do a loop? He said, oh, about 3.5 G. I said, what? I said, let's do these little dives, these little shallow dives. And we pulled up and it felt really weird. And I said, how much was that? He said, oh, that was 0.5 G. I said, 0.5 G. So we did it again, a bit more severe. And I said, that felt like a lot. What was that? He said, that was 1 G. I said, we're going to pull 3.5 of those. So it was a strange experience, but it was brilliant. And I tell you, the best part about it is when you look back and you're looking for the ground, and at that point, there is no G-force. You want to get the G-force in the bottom of the dip. That's all. You don't get it. You get nothing at the top. As you come round, you get no sensation at all. You get nothing in the dive. You just get it in the bottom where it bottoms out, and you're pushed really into your seat. But yeah, I didn't want to do it, but I did do it, and I'm glad I did do it. But I do like to approach all my fears in the same way. I don't want to do them, so I'll do them.
Good. Thanks. Awesome.
Do you have any left? Any fears left?
No, I don't think. I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody said, "Are you afraid of anything else? Would you like to conquer any other fear?" No, because I've approached most of them in the same way, thinking, well, I didn't want to be afraid of that. I'm not sure I do. I'm going to have to try and search my soul for a fear.
Talking about souls, actually, here's a question I was going to ask, and Siri's just asked it. How do you practice spirituality? Is it
How do
by
I practice
meditation?
spirituality? No, I used to attend a spiritualist church with my sister Tracy, and I used to really enjoy it. I don't really practice it. I see sequences and I see strange things and I see sequences in numbers. It's numerology, isn't it? I see it all over the place, and I'm just aware that there's something else going on. I do like going to see a medium from time to time.
Do you?
I do, I really do, yeah. And I like, a lot of my friends will say, "Oh, you can't do that, don't do that," and they find it all spooky and scary. And I'll say, "Oh, I love all that. I love all that sort of stuff. It doesn't scare me. I think it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Open your mind." I was very closed-minded before, very closed-minded. I was black and I was white. That was it. There was nothing other than black and white. And then after the accident, I became more open-minded. I thought you've got to open your mind to all these things around you, because while you're closed-minded, you'll never achieve, you'll never do the things that might be really interesting. So I opened my mind to everything, and including spirituality. So I'm prepared to accept anything you tell me until I find out that it's not true or it's true. But it's like anything, just open your mind to possibilities.
How would you differentiate spirituality and religion? What's the difference to you?
Well, for me, I don't think there is any really. It's just people call them different names.
Okay, interesting.
It's strange. I mean, the religions around the world are all very, very, very similar. They've got so much similarity that I think spiritualism is the same, really. We believe in something. We believe maybe in life after death, or you don't have to believe in life after death. But if it gives you comfort, and whatever gives you comfort, why not?
Yeah.
Geeta, can I just read Geeta's comment? Stephen, would love it if you did an audio book. I love your Yorkshire accent.
Well, I've been meaning to do my audio book for a while now, and I thought I might do it in a Jack and Ori style. Do you remember the TV program Jack and Ori, where the guy would be sat in the high chair and reading out a book? I thought I wouldn't mind doing a Jack and Ori style audio book of my book.
Yes.
So, that might be the next thing to do.
Yeah, lovely thing to do.
I've actually got to dip out because I'm running Nutrition Club, but I'm going to leave you in very capable hands. Stephen, thank you so much.
See you soon, Claudia. See you soon.
Thank you.
Caroline is just saying here, Stephen, you must have a special gift for these achievements. It sounds like you've had some recognition, quite a bit of recognition for all these achievements as well, doesn't it? And Geeta just saying, would be wonderful for you to do your storytelling.
I do think that most of us learn better through stories.
Yes.
So it's the only way to learn, the only way to deliver any sort of talk. It should be always through a story, because people can relate to stories.
Yes, yes. Let us know in the comments, what have you taken from today? What parts will you extract that you can use in your own life? For me, it's definitely, I'm thinking of other adventurous things I can do. That's what it's left me with, thinking, how can I stretch myself a bit more and do some things that have been on the list for a while, but not really taking them on, not acting on them. So that's what it's left me with, for sure. Geeta saying it's left her with anything is possible. Well, lovely. What about anyone else?
Easy to find an excuse, isn't it, not to do it?
Yeah,
it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, for all angles. It doesn't. Yeah, it's just the more you spoke, that temptation to listen to the excuse is always there, but you can just practice at pushing it away.
Yeah, don't have enough time, kids to look after, don't have enough money. No, got to do this, got to do that. Yeah, absolutely. How much do you think your friends and family and the support around you contributed to your moving ahead and challenging yourself like this?
I'm sure they've always been supportive. Sometimes I might think I'm a bit crazy. Maybe I'm a little bit of an eccentric Yorkshire man, but I acknowledge that I possibly am. And, so they sometimes think maybe I'm a bit eccentric. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do this different thing? And I think, well, just because I want to, because it's there. And why not?
Yeah, why not? That's a great one. Yeah.
The alternative is that I sit down and I do nothing, and I can't do that. I need to do something.
Yes. Liz is just saying, well, ask my son to watch this on catch up. So many youngsters are afflicted by mental health problems. Liz, I know my daughter's 19 and I see it in all her friends. It's just some not able to leave the house. They're so anxious. It's really awful. And Emma just saying, me too. I have a bucket list of things I was afraid to attempt it. From today, I will. Emma, come on, let's do it. I can, says Denise. And Geeta just, oh, wow, Tracy. Was talking to Tracy about a different part of the world. Yes, wonderful. So absolutely wonderful to have you here, Stephen. Thank you so much for your time and for giving us such a wonderful story about your life and about all your achievements and about overcoming challenges and a real hero's journey. And thank you, Tim, for coming on today. It's great to see you. And for all you Goldster members for sharing in the chat and for being here and, sharing your wisdom with us too. And we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. All right, everybody. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Stephen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.